What's up, everybody? Simon here. In this episode, I do want to talk about the end of cash. There is a global movement, or maybe a movement in America, to end paper cash and convert it to some type of digital currency. Not surprising. I called this out years ago when cryptocurrency was coming out. But in this episode, we're going to talk about what happens to money and cash in the future. Okay, so cash used to mean something, right? You would give $100 to, let's say, someone to repair something. That person would take that $100. They would then go ahead and buy a dinner for the family, a nice dinner at that time, right? That owner of that store would take that $100. They would go to a department store, buy their wife something very nice. That department store would collect that money, pay their employees, etc. Once the transaction would occur, so many times with that $100 bill, that $100 bill would still remain $100. Nothing would be devalued at that point, okay? There was 100 is going to be 100, whether it changes hands from your barber to your mechanic to anybody out there that you know, right? So whenever it could change hands 20, 30, 40 times, it'll still remain $100. Today, when you pay someone $100 with your credit card or Venmo or whatever it may be, they're taking percentages off that $100. So that $100 that's paid to the mechanic is coming in at, say, $96. That mechanic takes that $96, pays, a restaurant. That $96 now is being devalued lower and lower and lower to the point where it's almost devalued to zero. So it doesn't remain the same amount as it once did because it's traded hands and it's taken percentages out. So by having this type of digital currency, or by taking percents off every transaction, we're technically devaluing dollars. And that's why there's inflations, in my opinion. So cash has become like a number one enemy of the government and the local governments, maybe the federal governments, etc. One, they want to make sure they know every single transaction you have, okay, for any amount of time. They want to be able to track you just like they do with cell phones. So whether or not you're buying something, they want to know where it's coming from. With cash, that's not easy to do, right? You could have cash, you could have a transaction, and they would not be part of it. And when they're not part of something and they want full government control and full control of the people, money is the first thing that's going to go and be considered obsolete. And it's a lot easier to make cash obsolete than it is guns. For some reason, the Constitution of America did not have a clause for money. It did have the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, and that's always debated, and they're always trying to take your arms away, and they're always trying to take your guns away to protect themselves, not you necessarily, right? If you look at, for example, the argument of guns, Chicago has some of the most strictest gun laws, yet it has the most gun incidences. So strict gun laws, hard to get a gun, yet criminals are getting them no matter what, and it has the most gun crime. Uh, Overall, if or for some reason we didn't have cash in the Constitution, which I wish we did, because what it does is it gives the government a lot of power to not allow you to have paper cash or any tangible assets such as paper cash, whereas they protect the right to bear arms, which gives the government less power. And that's why some of the government's always fighting to take your guns away. Now, I'm not a crazy gun nut. I think they have a place in society. However, I think cash has a big place in society as well. I'm not the biggest proponent of just having only cash, but there are reasons for having cash, in my opinion, and that cash enables you some type of freedom from tyranny, from independence, of regulation from the government. But they are taking it away slowly, and they're diminishing the value of cash by forcing you to transact on cash, Comment below if you agree or not. So as money changes hands several times, that dollar stays the same dollar. Now everything around it changes. Of course, the dollar gets devalued, but each transaction, you're chipping away at every single dollar that you're sending. And with disruptors such as Bitcoin, they're making those transaction fees less, but the banks know what they're doing. They're taking away a cut from everything you buy. So not only are you getting taxed on everything you do, but then the banks also take a cut from everything you spend. Every time you spend money, you're getting taxed. It's incredible. And every time you are spending money, they're chipping away at what you're spending. Another fun fact is something you guys got to understand. If you lose $100, right, you technically need to make about $200 to value that same $100 after taxes. So it is incredible of what's happening with your dollars today and how no one is talking about the fact that the devaluation of money is coming through these transactions and the lack of cash circulating and the lack of cash that'll be circulating in 10 years. I would not be surprised if at one point the government forces people to turn in all of their cash for a bill or a digital currency that they would roll out to you, track you, make sure you have it, borrow against it, do whatever the hell they want to do with it at any point, seize it easily if they want to. How easy is it to seize money when you know exactly how much each person has? Very easy. And they would be able to control your assets that way. I think it's scary. I think it's dangerous, but I do think it's very possible. So is Bitcoin the way or the solution for people that are trading instead of cash versus, say, US dollars? Bitcoin has gone up to record highs, but overall, it's still traceable. There's still a transaction involved, and there's still fees to transfer Bitcoin, although not as high because they're cutting out the bank. But it is going to be a safe alternative. I don't know the world order on Bitcoin. I know there are countries that now have accepted Bitcoin as the main currency, and they've made money because of the cost or the price of Bitcoin. But overall, I worry the fact that they're going to take the cash away. If you're also worried, let me know. I do think that they're going to do it. And I think it's going to get crazy where some people out there aren't going to know what to do with their cash. Are they going to turn it in? Are they going to send it to another country? One thing I'll tell you is wealthy people always figure out a way to not hide their money necessarily, but understand where their money gets best value, in what country, in what tax code, in what requirement. So people, if they start seeing uh, the United States get greedy or the governments get greedy and really devalue the money, they're going to take that money somewhere else and they're going to live somewhere else. And you're going to be left with people that don't make that much money, that don't contribute to society. Billionaires, millionaires are going to start living elsewhere and they're going to start enjoying their life elsewhere, leaving all the people that don't understand money, value of money in America, disrupting it even further. So my concern is cash and the control that it has or enables the government to have over you. Once it's gone, you're really going to be tracked just like you are on a cell phone, just like you are GPS. And with financially now, it's going to be a potential scare. If you agree with me, comment below. If you don't agree with me, let me know why. Maybe cash is just for people laundering money or drug dealers, etc. Maybe not. Maybe cash is for people that don't trust the government. In my culture, particularly, cash is for people that don't trust the government, and they would keep it for rainy days or collect it and save it in any way that they can. If you're in a cash business, such as tailoring, such as shoe repair, salons, you name it, nail salons, etc. You're not used to taking those cash dollars and depositing them into the bank. And what's going to happen? I don't know. Comment below. Let me know what you think on cash. And if you enjoy these type of topics, check out my podcast, The Ideal Hour. We have some great guests with some stories to tell. Again, it's The Ideal Hour on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.